Now, another interesting bit of news that came out right before we started filming this is Conor has just been going off on Twitter, calling DC a fat fool, saying he doesn't know what he's talking about. Dustin Poirier, jumps in on that, just kind of says, Conor, question mark, everything's going on there. And then Conor offers to do a charity fight for $500,000, I believe, is the amount, and doesn't want the UFC involved at all. So, do we think that this is going to happen now? Is this, again, I kind of hate doing this because this is Conor's MO, is just saying, hey, I'm going to fight everybody in the world, and then he fights someone that he never talked about up until then, or he talked about a year ago. But what do we think about this? Do we think, one, is this fight going to happen? And two, what's the deal with saying the UFC shouldn't be involved? Are they on the outs? Is this the beginning of the end of Conor the UFC? Drake, I'll throw it to you.
Conor's upset that Dana's upset that Conor revealed their messages. It's really dramatic, guys. It's very dramatic. It's some high school stuff. Okay, so they're not friends right now. Okay, they're on bad terms. So, it's more of what I was saying. He's trying to speak things into existence that might not happen. Whatever. He's just saying these random things to get people to buy into it, believe that he's still trying to be active. When come on, he probably isn't. Why would he? And as for the Dustin fight, I'd be fine with it. I think that's a really interesting rematch and all that. Makes pretty good sense logically. Dustin's in a weird spot, having just lost to, not just, but recently lost his title shot to Khabib. Of course, he's in a much better spot if Gaethje wins. But then, of course, Gaethje, they'll do that Khabib rematch with Gaethje. You would think, anyways, they do an instant rematch for Khabib. So then that just leaves him waiting longer. Yeah, Dustin has earned a big payday. That's exactly what he wants. This is pretty much perfect for him if he could land this rematch. But the thing is, man, that fight, that's got to be a pay-per-view main event, right? I mean, just because that's kind of what Conor's been demanding ever since he became a star and champion and all that. That's all we're going to see from him now is pay-per-view main event fights. And I don't know if there's any spots open for the rest of the year. So, I mean, what the December card, I don't think Nunes and Megan is the headliner at the moment, but you got to think they would fit some other title fight on that card. They could even do 3, but putting Conor and Dustin Poirier over any title fights seems kind of weird. I guess I wouldn't put it past them at this point, especially after Conor came back and got a win over Cerrone. Anything can happen. I like that fight. It's a weird spot with Conor now because I feel like I'm not going to believe any of this stuff until we see some actual real progress be made, because this is just all high school drama right now from him. And I mean, he has these legal issue things, right? I didn't see any updates on this recent thing that he did, but I mean, when these incidents keep happening, it's like, I don't know, it's touchy, but yeah, I'm down for that possible rematch.
Yeah, it's certainly funny how he seems to talk a lot about matches and kind of go out of his way on social media after apparently another incident happens, right? He's been pretty quiet on social media about fights. I've seen the occasional tweet about, oh, congrats so-and-so, or, advertising something, one of his 10,000 products. But he really ramps up the fight talk when an incident happens. So that's kind of weird. Matt, what your thoughts?
I think this is all, to Drake's point, there's a little high school bickering going on, if you read between the lines here, when he says, nothing to do with zero to do with the UFC. That was the exact quote on the tweet there. Because that's hilarious. Like the UFC is just going to be like, go ahead, Conor. Go ahead, Dustin. Go ahead, 2 top contenders in our most exciting division. Go ahead and do something outside of our promotion that's going to grab a lot of views and attention. Sure, we'll let it happen. No, I think the intention of this is to force the hand of the UFC to get them a fight, both of them, preferably against each other. Maybe why not? Have that be a main event, like you're saying. And I still think the UFC is not above moving a current main event down one peg too for a Conor McGregor show, because that's going to increase buy rates like crazy. And we also know the UFC is not above just creating a title out of nowhere for him. So, hey, we could have a new belt. You got the BMF over here. Hey, we can have a new, I don't know, intercontinental title or some shit. Just go full WWE with it. Why not? But yeah, I like the idea of these guys doing this on Twitter where everybody can see it and react to it. Meanwhile, you guys know that meme of Dana sitting there when he's talking to Misha Tate at the restaurant and he's just sitting there like red-faced. I'm pretty sure that was his reaction when he was told this was happening on Twitter. So, yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see this stuff play out. Obviously, this would be really cool if it could happen. Why not do a charity fight, $500,000 to charity? That's definitely going to help out a lot of people, like Dustin said on there. So that would be amazing. But is it going to happen? Hell no.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't see it actually happening. The UFC would gladly put them against each other in a main event and let them donate their purses to charity, but they've got to get a cut, right? There's no way they're going to let Conor fight anywhere, whether it's this charity fight, whether it's the Pacquiao bout, whether it's Diego Sanchez. They're not going to do it without a cut. They're going to do it without a cut of that money. So I don't see it happening either. I think it would be awesome if it did, but nothing that can really be done there given the contractual obligations. If, let's say, they somehow work it out, they do get it done, it is the next fight for Conor, which is a gigantic if. I'd love to see the odds on where that stands as his next fight. It's a great rematch. Poirier is much improved since the last time they fought. It would be, I would assume, at 155, unless Poirier was going to move up to 170. That makes a huge difference because Poirier and McGregor fought at 145 before. Who takes it? Who is it? You know, McGregor just gets it done again. Does Poirier actually win? What do you guys think of that?
I mean, I think no matter what, it's most likely going to be more competitive in the first fight because you got to think that first fight was only like 1:40. You know, we didn't get to see a whole lot there. It was just, you know, Conor on that rise and he starched him pretty good and early there. And Dustin, man, yeah, just a completely different fighter, you know, has grown into one of the best lightweights. You know, you could argue he's an all-timer at this point, the guys he's beaten and how he's looked. I mean, obviously not the best, but, you know, one of the better guys that we've seen historically at lightweight. And I mean, you could maybe argue that he's even grown more than Conor has since then. I mean, you know, there's an argument to be made there. But as for how they would fight, how the fight would go with them now, man, it's, you know, Dustin is still proven to be hittable. Like, obviously, we saw Hooker tee off on him a lot in, you know, their recent war. And I mean, just plenty of Dustin wars. But the thing is, you know, we don't usually see Conor in those kind of fights. Like, would he be able to sustain that gritty, you know, just warrior spirit that Dustin Poirier would be bringing at him consistently? A lot different than, you know, the first fight. And, you know, he's shown to be able to take damage a lot better, too, with this weight on him at 155. So it would just be a completely different story. I think it's a hard one to predict, you know, because Dustin still does get hit, like I said, but he's, you know, gotten so much better with his defense is very underrated as well in terms of his overall package because of how much he's improved everywhere. I'd have to go probably with the hot hand though, and just the guy who's been more active, which is Dustin, and been fighting and beating, you know, top guys more consistently than Conor has. Not that, but he could still get caught. But because of those factors, I think you got to go with the guy who's been more active and, you know, just shown us more consistency right now.
Not a bad pick. Matt, what do you think?
You know, I think the obvious answer right now is definitely that it would be a lot different than their first fight. Definitely. Because Dustin Poirier, you know, like Drake said, has improved so much. He's improved so much. His heart is still on 10. He's out there to win every fight. He will go through hell to try to win fights. And we've seen Conor have to do that in the Nate Diaz, you know, fights, but that was like really the only one because he's either just starching people or, you know, it's just that. I mean, besides that, you have to go all the way back, I think, to the Holloway fight to find a real competitive Conor McGregor fight inside the octagon, right? But I think it would be a fun fight, regardless the outcome. I would probably lean towards Dustin more, just again because of the activity. But Conor, man, he has that one hitter quitter power. I mean, Dustin does too, but when Conor touches your chin, it's something different. Or when his shoulder touches your chin, it's something different, as we saw in his last time out. So he's just he's a special athlete, and I think a lot of people will forget that about him, as he's not as active as we would like to see him be. But it's a hard fight to predict, but I wish I had the numbers pulled up about the rematches, who wins the second fight. But it would be a fun one to watch for sure. And I hope that all of this does lead to a match, because, we didn't get Poirier versus Ferguson because Poirier wanted more money. Well, this is a good way to get Poirier more money. You're going to offset that by pay-per-view buys with McGregor being there. So go ahead, set up the rematch, man. Schedule it, book it. Let's do it. I would probably take whoever the underdog is if I was a betting man, just because that's live dog money, whoever it ends up being. Obviously, it would end up being Dustin, because we know those Irish fans are going to show up and bet the house on Conor every time. So, hey, I'd throw a little cash down on my fellow native Louisiana fighter right there in Dustin Poirier. So,
yeah, I think that's probably the best advice you could give anyone if they're doing a rematch, is whoever the underdog is, definitely throw some money on it, because I think that's probably as much of a coin flip for Conor that I've thought about in the last, his since the title run, really. And even then in the title run, I mean, he looked so good. I mean, the way he schooled Eddie Alvarez there, and he came back and he beat Cerrone, and Cerrone has got a little long in the tooth, as we've seen. He's not exactly the fighter he once was, but he still easily handled him. I'd love to see that fight, especially if they did it 170. I'd love to see Dustin at 170 and see what that looks like. But 155 would also be amazing. Whatever works, just get that fight done. I'm with you there. I would lean. I'd kind of lean Conor, just because he's had more rest, right? Dustin's gone through some wars. Like, Hooker and him was a war. Before that, Dustin's gone like 3 or 4 back-to-back wars. He's been putting on crazy fights. And like you said, Conor's got that one-hit power. So I might lean McGregor, just because McGregor hasn't really gotten hit in the face since Khabib. And even then, it wasn't like he got destroyed on the feet and got pieced up. It was, Khabib did what Khabib does. So I'd lean a little bit Conor there, but either way, I think that's an amazing fight. And I agree that they should totally get it done. So cancel Pacquiao, make it a main event as long as it's not over Chimaev, and I think we're all good, right? I mean, that makes sense.
Conor versus Chimaev.
That could actually happen. Why would you speak those words into existence? That could totally happen.
I wrote an article about this, dead serious, because I think that if you're talking about striking while the iron is hot, you say fuck it and make Chimaev versus Conor. As crazy as it is, you want to cash out, man. Obviously, terrible matchup for Conor, but hey, why not ride this wave?
Yeah.
Worst nightmare matchup possible.
Yeah, I know. Thought Habib was bad.
Jesus Christ. Yeah,
we can only hope. We can only hope we see that, because I mean, yeah, the UFC is really just cashing out on Conor at that point if they're doing that fight. No, not that again. Chimaev, we haven't seen him up against the hardest hitting competition yet, right? But still, the risk there, if Chimaev goes in there and just murders Conor, like that's it. So yeah,
even if Conor iced him, though, that wouldn't be very good either. Like, they would need Chimaev to be competitive in some way.
Yeah, they'd literally be saying, "Hey, one of you two is going to be our star. Like, you've got to fight it out." That's it. I think
at this point, knowing Conor, he would go up there, ice Chimaev, and then call out Weidman for some reason. Like, it's just nothing makes sense anymore. Nothing makes sense.
No, man, that's when you call out Diego. Now it all makes sense. You ice Chimaev, and that's when you call out Diego. There you go. Man. There you go, Conor. I can't. I know you're watching, so I can't wait to see you do it, man. Can't wait to see you call out Diego Sanchez after beating Khamzat Chimaev. That just came out of my mouth. Yep.